Back when Flatpak and Flathub first hit the scene, most of the Flatpaks available were packaged by a third party. And this is a fairly common practice on Linux. Most developers out there don't package their application for every single system. Maybe they'll have a Debian or Ubuntu package, maybe they'll have a Fedora package, maybe one or two other things, but you'd be really lucky to see much else. But as Flatpak has been growing, while you still primarily see third-party packaging, a lot more developers are becoming interested in maintaining their own Flatpak. This ensures that users out of the box get the experience intended by the developers, assuming nothing else goes wrong in Flatpak, which for one of these certainly has happened, OBS Studio, but other official apps are things like Proton Tricks or Firefox. But without going and doing research, there is no way you can tell at a glance if this is by a third-party developer or the official developers of the project. There is some information on here about the developer and publisher, but sometimes there's information missing, sometimes it directs you to another site. It's not entirely clear. And this is where beta.flathub.org comes in. We've talked about this site plenty of times in the past. This is basically a testing ground for the main Flathub website. It allows you to try out new features and new additions that may not be in the best of states and get feedback from the users in a public forum without breaking your main site with features that haven't properly been tested. And as such, anything that happens here is completely subject to change. And as of a few days ago, they added in a really big change, a section for verified applications. So here are some of the same applications from earlier. Here is OBS, here is Proton Tricks, and here is Firefox. And as you can see, they all have a marker here indicating they are verified. And why reinvent the wheel? Just copy what Twitter does. And the keen-eyed among you may have noticed why I picked these three applications. They all have a slightly different kind of verification. Let's start with OBS. This is a website verification. It says the name of the website, obsproject.com, and if you hover over the verification symbol, the ownership of the com.obs.project application ID has been verified using obsproject.com. The second kind of verification is a repo verification. It says the name of the developer and the platform they're using. In this case, GitHub. The ownership of the com.github.matterking.protontricks application ID has been verified by @matterking on GitHub. And the third kind of verification just says verified. The ownership of the org.mozilla.firefox application ID has been manually verified by Flathub staff. Now, while it's obvious the third kind of verification is manual, with the first two, it's mostly automatic for the Flathub staff. So when you first upload a Flatpak onto Flathub, there is some information you're required to give. Things like the name of the project website, the license, where the manifest for the Flatpak can actually be found, and a bunch of other things that you can optionally add. You can choose to add extra things like contribute translations and reporting issues and things like that. But the main two important things are the project website, and if the project is open source, the repo for the project. Not the repo for the Flatpak, the repo for the project itself. Now, the easiest is probably repo verification like Matterking has done. On Flathub Beta, you can have an account. This account is set up by linking various accounts. GitHub, GitLab, GNOME GitLab, and I can imagine other things being added into the future. And if the project you have, in this case being Proton Tricks, is on your connected account, then that project can be verified. Whereas website verification involves a little bit more work. Obviously, there's no, sign in with the website to verify you own the website. That just doesn't make any sense. So the way that this is done is you're given a little marker, a little token to include on that website, and if that token is on the website, then the project can be verified. And having both of these options is great, because while a lot of massive projects like OBS are going to have their own project website, a lot of other stuff, the project website is also the repo, like with Proton Tricks. Even though this is a fairly popular application, it doesn't have its own dedicated website. Giving both those options gives a lot of freedom for how you want this to be done, and gives you the same result in the end. And also, they're both kind of as abusable as each other. Both of these also make it fairly easy for a project outside of the developers of the main project to be recognized as the official developers of the Flatpak. For example, with OBS, this started as a whole separate project by a bunch of developers that weren't connected with OBS. Eventually, OBS recognized them as, a good idea and brought them into the project and made it official. But if it was still a separate repo, because they are doing website verification, it can still say this is the official Flatpak. While all of this stuff is great, and it's great to recognize developers for the work they are doing, verification isn't without its drawbacks. So you can have an application that is malicious that is also verified because the developer of the malicious program is the one that put it onto Flathub. Now, you can't just go and randomly upload things to Flathub. It's not like the AUR. If something is going to be uploaded, it is going to be screened, and generally, that is going to get rid of the malware. But every repo out there has had at least 1 or 2 cases of something slipping through. I don't think Flathub has just yet, but it may happen in the future. So don't just go and blindly install things just because they're verified. Know what you're actually installing. But even if it's not malicious, there are still some cases where an application shouldn't be verified. In that case, a Flathub staff member can veto, block, or manually verify any applications they want to. As we saw, they did manually verify Firefox. However, there has already been one weird edge case where something did need to lose its verification. There is a project on Flathub called WhatsApp for Linux. Now, WhatsApp is not officially on Linux, and as you can tell by the developer name here, this is not the official developer of WhatsApp. But initially, this was verified, and not because of a bug, but because they are the developer of WhatsApp for Linux, an unofficial WhatsApp desktop application for Linux. So should this person be verified, or shouldn't they be? Now, for most applications, I would argue yes, they should. The issue is WhatsApp is a brand name that people are aware of. If you see WhatsApp for Linux, you probably assume that's being developed by the WhatsApp developers and not some random person on GitHub. But this is exactly the reason why we have Flathub Beta, to answer questions like this and work out how verification should really be handled. The way that I think it should be done is if this application was like a third-party Discord client and called it something like, I don't know, Friend Chat or Better Discord, or something that makes it very clear that it's related to the project possibly, but still not officially that thing. In that case, verification makes sense. But for this, I think they made the right call. You could make the argument that because it says in the description, unofficial WhatsApp desktop application, maybe that's fine, and maybe that's enough to distinguish it from WhatsApp. But I don't think most people read past the title to make sure it's what they want to install. My honest suggestion to the dev is just change the project's name. Not just because of Flathub. Change the name because at some point in the future, if the WhatsApp legal team finds out your project exists, you are going to get a very angry email. They own the name WhatsApp, and they're going to be in the right when that happens, and I don't want to see a project like this just disappear off the internet. But with that out of the way, I think generally if the Flathub staff are paying attention to what is being verified, this is just a good thing. It's going to make it a lot clearer to users what is being developed by the official developers, and a lot of other marketplaces online use a fairly similar system. While I said earlier they were copying Twitter in some ways, it might be more accurate to say they're just copying Visual Studio Marketplace. It pretty much uses the exact same text. GitHub has a verified ownership for the domain github.com. If we go to OBS Studio, the ownership of the project application ID has been verified using obsproject.com. It's pretty much the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a system that works. Hopefully before this hits the main site, if it ever does, as I said, subject to change, they do have very clear guidelines of what can be and what can't be verified. Most cases are going to be fairly simple. You develop Proton Tricks. Proton Tricks is just Proton Tricks. It gets verified. You own the website for OBS Studio. OBS Studio gets verified. But the edge cases are where you really need guidelines for, because if they don't have guidelines, verification will disappear from a random project, leading to a giant drama on Reddit. And no one likes drama on Reddit, unless you're not the one being targeted. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you care about verification? Are you a Flatpak developer and are going to make use of this? Are you a third-party Flatpak developer and maybe trying to make your project officially part of the main project? I would love to know. And if you like this video, remember to go and like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, subscribe, Stanley Burpay, linked down below. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.